My name is Iko Kusumtuchi, and it's an honor to moderate this event. Today, we're going to be talking about from campus to career, what they don't teach you in school. And we're going to be joined by three amazing professionals who will be sharing their experience with us on starting out from being a student and now doing amazingly well in their various careers. So, if your hands are not too busy, as I mentioned the speaker's name, for the panelists, please you kindly rise so that you could recognize. And then once I finish your citation, please kindly come up stage. So our first panelist is Nottage James. Please can we clap for Nottage James? Nottage James is a software engineer focused on B2B products at Quidax, where he builds financial technology solutions tailored for African markets. A first-class graduate of computer engineering from Convener University, class of 2023, Nottage has developed products that has processed millions of dollars in transaction volume. He possesses deep knowledge of fintech landscape, including product strategy, technical architecture, and sales within emerging markets. Known for his strong work ethic and analytical approach, Nottage is passionate about solving real-world problems through technology. Once again, please give you a round of applause for Nottage James. Up next, we have Chigozie. Chigozie is a please, let's clap for him. Chigozie is a lead backend engineer at Quora, where he helps build secure, scalable financial solutions. With deep expertise in software engineering, he specializes in design high-performance systems that power seamless financial transaction and integration. Beyond fintech, Chigozie has played a key role in shaping open banking API standards in Nigeria, working alongside industry leaders to drive innovation and improve financial access across Africa. Once again, let's give it up for Chigozie. And lastly, we our Ekwe. Awa is an accomplished professional with over 6 years of experience in fintech and finance sectors. With a foundation in economics from the University of Nigeria, Awa has developed a robust skill set in customer success, human resources, and management. His work in fintech has equipped him with in-depth knowledge of capital markets, client relationship management, and operational strategy, making him adept in driving growth and efficiency within a competitive, fast-paced environment. Please let's give it up for Awa. Okay, thank you so much. So we're joined by three amazing panelists, and I would like to admonish our audience to please pay attention because a lot of lessons are going to be shared across in this panelist session. And if you have any question, by God's grace, we'll have time to accommodate as many questions as we can. Okay, so before we go straight into the question, I would like to ask our panelists, so starting from Nottage and then down to Awa, describe adulthood in one word.
If I were to try to describe adulting in one word, I think I would say it is non-stop.
Okay. It is.
I didn't expect this question. So I think it's more of adulthood is more of strategic thinking, figuring out. Okay, wow. So I think figuring out where you are right now and like where you want to be. So it has a lot of planning that goes into it, a lot of strategic thinking. That is how I see adulthood as. Yeah.
I'll say interesting, right? It's a lot of things, but if you ask most of us, would you rather go back to when you were a kid? I'm sure the answer will be no. So I would say interesting.
Thank you very much. So my first question is directed to James Nottage. So it's been 2 years since you graduated from Convener University. And my question is, could you share your experience with transitioning from being a student and now working as a software engineer at Quidax?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. To borrow Awa's word, that's a rather interesting question. I first started working as a software engineer when I was in 300 level, I think. And I think some key things I picked up then still continue to be the reality today. You know, when you are in school, you are in a structured environment. There are problems to solve, yes, but all these problems are within structure. You can raise your hand in the exam hall and say, I'm sorry, this problem can't be solved. That's free marks for everyone. It's great. But when you are doing real world things, you can't raise your hand and ask your lecturer to save you. You can't be saved by the bell. There is no bell. You just keep going, like I said, non-stop. And you kind of have to make things work in contexts that more often than not are what you could consider unfair. The first major example I had of this was my first role was a company called Excite Panacea. I was a software engineer there, and I was supposed to do something for the House of Chi. The House of Chi was a client back then. I was meant to do something for them before 5 p.m. and the site was down. So I told my manager, sorry, I'm going home. I can't do it. The site is down. He said, notice, don't go anywhere. Sit down. It has to work before 5 p.m. And I was shocked because I was like, wait, what do you mean? You mean you're not going to save me? You mean I actually have to, I'm actually responsible for this? And that responsibility for uploading invoice data for the House of Chi over the years, of course, has grown into being responsible for bigger and bigger things and owning more and more complex solutions. And at some point, you also realize that even more deeply than owning someone's job role or owning this particular part of the process for any particular company, you are responsible for your own life and your own progress and your own career and your own trajectory and path. And that is an amazing amount of responsibility that hits you when you leave school. So I would say take everything you're doing here really seriously. Take responsibility as much as possible. And be aware that, to be honest, nothing prepares you for the amount of responsibility you have to carry through life, but carrying it itself. And, good luck.
Thank you very much, Noted. So before we go on, our fourth panelist is here. So please, as I read her citation, please kindly stand up, Miss Cynthia, and then let's clap as well. Miss Cynthia Eziani is a dynamic and growth-driven professional with over 6 years of experience in sales, partnership, and customer fulfillment within the fintech and B2B space. She currently leads the customer fulfillment department at Vendor Credit, a supply chain finance company where she's building scalable operational structures, efficient process, and a high-impact team to deliver exceptional customer service outcomes. Cynthia is passionate about optimizing business processes and driving strategic improvements that fuel business growth, elevate customer experience, and enhance organizational efficiency. She brings a strong foundation in stakeholder engagement, cross-functional collaboration, performance-driven leadership, and operational execution. Please, if your hands are not too busy, please just give it up for Cynthia Eziani. Thank you. So my next question is going to be directed to Chigozie. And Akura, you are building a payment infrastructure. How do you balance coding with broader responsibilities of being a tech leader?
So for me as a lead backend, it's a lot of work trying to balance leading a team and also being hands-on code-wise. So I think what I've done and what I'll continue to do is to trust my team members, right? To empower them to be able to deliver products or write efficient code. So I don't spend a lot of time writing code anymore, but I think I've designed frameworks. Not just we have designed frameworks that allow people to work on high priority tasks without having someone micromanaging them. So I would say I've developed a level of trust to my team members, so I'm able to delegate tasks to them, and I'll be rest assured that they will do it. I also spend some time. So even when I need to write code, they are not code that are not trivial or something. It's more of a strategic, like I said earlier, strategic or foundational code that will set the foundation for what is to come. So yeah, so I just spend a lot of time strategizing and trying to figure out how to make working in the back end team as seamless as possible for my team members.
Thank you very much. So my next question is directed to Miss Cynthia. You studied accounting, and now you're the senior growth executive at Vendor Credit. When and why did you make that career switch?
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Hello. Okay, great. Okay, so I think for me, it started in 200 level, right? As an accounting student, then I think in 200 level, I just knew that I wasn't going to continue, right, with accounting, even though I wasn't sure at the time, what other career path I was going to, go on to. But I was sure that I wasn't accounting, and not because I found accounting boring or I didn't like numbers anymore, but I just realized that it wasn't something I wanted to do for the long term. I think I probably just jumped on it, maybe because to just please family, but it wasn't my thing. Then, like I said, I didn't know what else, right, apart from accounting. So coming out of school and, just like every regular person at the time, trying to figure out, okay, what's the next thing since I'm not doing accounting. And, I think my first job was in investment banking at the time. And whilst I found investment banking interesting, right, but I was still unsettled that something isn't adding up yet. I don't know what it is, but I'll keep pushing at my job until I figure out where it is that, I am going to be more comfortable, being my best at. And then I think from like 2020, after COVID, I started having interest in tech. And then from investment banking, at the time I was an investment advisor. And then, I did the switch to tech group. Yeah, so that was pretty much it.
Thank you very much. So my next question is going to be directed to our... Sorry, give me a second. Okay, so from your experience at RiseVest, what cultural fit factors do students often overlook when choosing where to work?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So cultural fit factors that most people, not even just students, overlook. So when people are looking for jobs, the key thing on everyone's mind is like, what's the pay, like what's the salary? But you also need to figure out the structure of the company. So most people here work in startups that are very fast-paced, right? You need to figure out a lot of things by yourself. It's different from other like traditional companies where things are, slower. There's some bureaucracy and things take time to like actually, get going, right? So you need to decide, am I the kind of person who wants to work in a very fast-paced environment versus am I someone who wants to take it a bit slower? I think that's really the first thing. Because if you're not able to answer that question for yourself, you start a job and then the demands of that job is not what you're cut out for, then frustration and pressure and all that follows. The second thing is like the current thing about work-life balance. If you go and join an early stage startup, work-life balance kind of flies out the window, right? But you look out for, okay, at this stage of my career, what am I trying to prioritize? Am I looking for experience? If you're looking for experience, that means you now need to apply yourself, and work-life balance has to take like the back seat. But as you build out career, you get to a certain level, and you now start thinking, okay, maybe I should, dedicate more times to family, to my other passions, and stuff like that. The last thing would be how this company treats its people, right? Most times you're paid well, but you're not fulfilled. You're not happy. The environment is toxic. The work is killing you. You're pretty much dying slowly. So you need to ask, how are people treated in this company? Are they always hiring and firing and hiring again? What's going on? What's the culture like? What's the learning and development? How seriously do they take things like that, right? So structure of the company, work-life balance questions, and then how the company treats its people. These are cultural fit factor questions young people should look out for when looking for employment.
Thank you very much. So my next question is directed to Nottage, building upon what Awa said. So from a software engineer perspective, how do you stay current with the rapidly evolving tech while still delivering on your job?
How do I stay current with rapidly evolving tech while
Yes.
still focusing on my job or delivering on my job? That's an interesting question. Like, oh, she's left. One speaker said earlier, Linda, I believe, said stay curious. One thing I personally do is I always try to work on niche products at my place of work. I always try to work on niche products. So, for instance, recently, Telegram released a mini app API, and something came up that involved that. It came out last year in November. I think when that project came up, I volunteered for it immediately because that is one way to do it. First of all, there's the thing where you're working at the cutting edge. So you are actually working on the latest tools, you're working with the latest tools. So you are learning them just because that is your day to day. There's that. But outside that, if you want to keep up with, for instance, I think the best example of this has to be AI. Currently, there's a new AI model every week at this point. Something is always coming out. You could pull up Google on this screen right now. I'm certain that something about AI came out yesterday. There has to be something with all the money that's going in there. So something I do, of course, is I read newsletters a lot, of course. Gemini has this really helpful feature where it summarizes stuff for you. So just read through that. And then you have to use your weekends and maybe after work periods to build stuff just so that you don't, get sidelined. I'm sure Chigozie understands this. When people think about software engineering and we are still like a student, you think software engineering is this, everything is lumped together. But in the end, being a software engineer is solving domain problems with technical implementation. So a lot of the time, if you are in a particular domain like fintech, you find yourself going very deep on the software and the solutions that are just in that domain. So there's some things that, let's say, Chigos, even though we're both in fintech, there are things you mentioned because he works in payments and I work in like Web3 cryptocurrency space. There are things I will mention that he may not be very current on. There are things he would mention that I won't be very current on. There are things Babs will mention that works with AI that I won't know about. So if you it's kind of a choice, you can go deep and just focus on what you are doing and kind of, be a jack of just that one trade. Or you could use your weekends to explore other avenues. I could this weekend say, hey, I'm doing an AI project so that I know what's going on in AI. I know what's going on in payments. I think I built a payment gateway this year just so that I can understand what's happening outside my little sphere. Because to be honest, tunnel vision is a real thing. When you're working on a particular thing, you can get extremely focused. And if you're not like a founder trying to solve for just that particular problem, if you are still someone who is exploring, who still hopes to start something one day, it pays to have, kind of a bird's eye view of the field. So I would say use your weekends. And when you're using your weekends and doing stuff outside work, avoid just working on things that that are your comfort zone. Avoid just doing things you're comfortable with. Do things that challenge you, things that stress you, because when you do things that challenge you and stress you, you're truly learning something about someone else's field of work. And as they say, no knowledge is wasted, apart from something that you in school. Most other real life knowledge is not wasted. It could come in handy one day. So yeah.
Thank you very much. So my next question is directed to Chigozie. You have reviewed countless applications. What actually makes a fresh graduate stand out beyond just having good grades or any grades?
So like I was discussing with someone outside. I think if you want to stand out, right, try to. I'm going to speak in terms of tech, right? If you're applying for a tech role, let's say junior backend engineer, junior front-end engineer, whatever. Right. So if you want to stand out, you need to first of all have lots of projects. Right. So you need to be able to show that you're not just yes you're applying for a junior role, but you have had some sort of experience building different projects. Right. So when we are reviewing your CV and we see stuff like that, that gives us the confidence that okay, even though we are hiring this person for this role and she's supposed to be seen a junior developer or an intern, he doesn't require so much hand holding, right? Because this is tech space and most importantly, fintech space are moving very fast. We are moving very fast, right? There's millions and millions of things to do. So we do not typically have time to handhold people to build stuff or to, closely monitor, are you doing it, are you not doing it, right? So seeing that someone that is applying for a role already has like in-depth, not in-depth, but some level of understanding of what he's building, and he has like a proof of projects that he has worked in the past, that gives us like the confidence to say, okay, let's even hire, let's first of all, let's start the interview process, right, and see what the person knows. Right, but if you are applying and you're just applying that, okay, you are done with school and you studied computer science, in this modern day and age, it's going to be hard to recognize that, okay, because there are a lot of people that study computer science, there are a lot of people that have software engineering background, right? So it's going to be hard to like pick you out of the pool of thousands of people that apply for job every day. So if I'm going to say one thing that will make you stand out is the build project, and if you want to take it further, review the company you're applying on and see if there is something you can do for them. Right? For example, Quora does not have like an API SDK SDK plugin or something. So let's assume that someone wants to apply in Quora right now. So one key way to stand out is just go and build an API SDK for Quora APIs. Right? Once you build that, I'm not giving anybody any ideas, but I'm not giving promises, but I mean, building that alone shows your level of commitment to getting that job. All right. So obviously, if you do something like that, even though you may not be selected at the end of the day, you recognize that okay, we recognize you and we'll probably build on top of what you have already built for us. And yeah, that's what I think.
Thank you very much. Ms. Cynthia, would you also like to add on that and his question?
Okay, yeah, so I agree with Chigozie, correct? Yeah, I think another thing would be going the extra mile. Going the extra mile. So I have reviewed a couple of CVs and interviewed people, and during the course of the interview, you realize that some people don't come prepared. Like they just woke them up and they just appeared, and you're like, you applied, you sent your CV, and why are you not prepared? And even ask them, okay, what do we do at vendor credit? And they're stuttering when everything is literally in front of you. Just want to Google away. So that's one thing I have noticed. Some people don't come prepared for interviews, and you don't have questions for the people that are also interviewing you as well, right? I know for myself, a couple times I've had to interview. Not only am I interviewing reading up about the company, I'm also reading up about people in that role that I expect to see, or the interview panels, right? Asking specific questions about, the role, and they're there currently. So anything I need to know about that role that'll make me successful, they are right there in front of me to ask. But then you have people and you're asking, okay, do you have any question for me? And they say no. I'm like, you don't have any question? You don't want to know how I go about my day-to-day, or, how vendor credit does what it does? No question. So to me, I don't see the drive, the hunger to want this. That's some of the things I've noticed. And for people I have an opportunity to give feedback to, I share that with them, that if you're pursuing something, at least put some level of effort and show that you actually want this, because you must have looked at the company and said, I want to work here, right? It is part of stuff that would help me grow in my career. So why not put the effort? So that's some of the things I've noticed. Yeah.
Thank you very much. My next question is directed to Awa, and you work as a people and cultures lead at RiseVest. What skills have helped you advance quickly, especially in the space that you're in or the field that you're in?
So, for my own specific experience, it's been a long winding road. I've done a bunch of things. I've led customer success teams. I've done people and culture. Currently, my role is actually people and business operations lead. So one of the things that have helped me is, just taking responsibility, right? When opportunities come up, take a stab at it, right? Don't wait till all the stars have aligned and you've gotten all the certifications and you know it end to end, right? So if there's something that needs to be done in your company and the company is saying, oh, there's this thing we are trying to do, does anybody have bandwidth to try it out? You volunteer, right? Sometimes it leads to something bigger. Sometimes it's just maybe like a side project. So always show up for any responsibility that comes up. Don't shy away from it. And then secondly is, before something higher is given to you, the one you're currently doing, you need to be doing it at a very super level, right? People need to see that, okay, you're already great at this. What else can you try your hands on? So whatever you find yourself doing, do it to the best of your ability. And then when opportunities to try something else that, of course, you're obviously aligned with, take a stab at it, right? That's something I'll advise, and that's something that's worked for me.
Thank you very much. So my question will be directed to Notage. As mentioned earlier, you work as software engineer for Quidex, and I would like for you to talk about how building financial products is different from other types of software development.
Okay, for every other type of software product, when you make mistakes, you lose customers. With finance, when you make mistakes, you lose money. So they say, oh, customers are revenue, customers are money, customer comes first, don't lose the customer. For us, we start with revenue is revenue, money is money, don't lose the money. I have lost money before. I'm sure I have lost money before. It's part of the kidney. I think it was last year, I made a mistake with configuring fees for something. And so what was happening was that I think it was 15 naira per transaction that the customers were seeing a lower fee than they were meant to see, something like that. And 15 naira sounds small, but finance is a volume game. If we were discovered very early, thank God. But if, let's say, you don't discover that 1 week, $1 million, $2 million has gone through in like 300,000 separate transactions, and it is 15 naira we've lost on each one. How much am I making? So, yeah, that's the first thing that's different about finance. The fact that you really have to be careful because you can't afford to lose money. Secondly, is regulation. Nigeria is, especially for what I do, which is cryptocurrency and digital assets generally, right? Nigeria is in a very interesting spot. Right now, Quidax holds the approval in principle. Please clap for us. It hasn't been easy. We've been on this journey for like 3-4 years. And currently, we hold the approval in principle for the first ever virtual asset service provider issued in West Africa, as far as I know. We're licensed, we issued in West Africa. We also hold approval in principle for the digital assets exchange, the DAX licensing, and all that. So, because of that, you have to be extremely compliant when building things. You have to think about, details. There's some things that are non-negotiable because of compliance. Does anyone here know Reboot Camp from CCI? At Reboot Camp last year, we were working on a product, and so what was happening was I would attend Reboot Camp, then go to the car, and bring out my laptop, go back inside, attend, and we had a blocker. There was an engineering thing. There was some difficulty collecting the bank verification number, and collecting it is always easy. There was difficulty using that BVN to do, I forgot the exact detail, what we're trying to do with it. And so we said, this is stressful. We are stuck at BVN. It's been like 3 or 4 days. Let's just drop the BVN and keep it moving. And so On that call, we decided we were going to drop the BVN. And I went inside, and still in front of me was a compliance lead. I just saw her doing the prayer session. I said, thank God, this is prayer in action. So I asked her, I told her, I didn't ask her, I told her, see, we're dropping BVN, we can't do it. Version 2, something like that, normal software engineering talk. You would move fast and break things like that. And so she explained to me why we can't move fast and break things unless, I want to break the license as well. So that was a very interesting thing. Just side issue here. Apparently, the BVN is so important when it comes to financial products because that's really what ties it to your bank account. And in the end, TradFi banks are the core thing, for now at least. We're getting there. So regulation, you have to be extremely careful. And I think the third thing about building finance products, especially in Africa, is that you are constantly faced with the challenge of moving money. Constantly. In Africa, money has to move fast because OP has bought you guys. You send money now, you get it now. Where does that happen? You live here, T+1, T+2. In Europe, sometimes T+4, it happen. But you guys want your money now. So in Africa, you have to move money now. And at the same time, you are realizing that people want to move money now, even when they're sending money to someone in Ghana. As for customers, we are doing B2C. It has to happen now. And they start thinking about things like operational floats, making sure people don't lose money. Not losing money is a huge part of the game, to be honest. If you don't lose the money, at least you can start from somewhere. We made a mistake, but we have the money. We made a mistake and we don't have the money. Okay, first of all, how are you going to pay your salary? Are you going to leave? Things like that. So, moving money quickly, moving around the fact that Africa's financial rails, while fast, don't easily plug outside Africa. And then fourthly, still around not losing money, security. You can't afford to slip up on security when you're working in finance because Yahoo boys are ready and they are waiting. They are glad. I don't click. Has anyone? Sometimes people send me links, even like their messages or LinkedIn or anything. I don't click any link anywhere because only God knows what people have cooked, what someone has cooked for me. I don't click any link anywhere for any reason. I'll first tell you to explain what's in the link. Then sometimes I'll say, okay, sure, I've seen this. I'm sure it's an amazing deck. Let's fix a call and talk about it. Because I will not click that link. Just die it. Chime will kill me. Okay. Someone at Quidax will kill me. So you have to be extremely aware of security as software engineer at a fintech firm, especially as you get bigger. You're extremely aware of security. You're sure people are trying to scam you. Someone reached out to me on LinkedIn like 2 days ago, saying that she works in Greece and then they build this Node.js system for Africa and they want me to test it. Who am I? You're a scam master. Leave me alone. So I think I would just to sum it up. I would say security, regulation, don't lose money, and eventually, what was the last thing I said? I think I said yes, Africa's payment challenges generally. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. So my next question is directed to Cynthia. What skills do you use every day that weren't taught to you in any classroom?
Okay. I think for me it would be managing stakeholders, right? Whether colleagues and then upline, same line, downline, right? So for my kind of work, there are a lot of stakeholders: tech, product, finance, compliance. I literally have to. My job is tied around everybody within the department, and earlier on in my career, I had to learn how to work around, managing those relationships to be able to do my job properly, right? I don't know how that applies, for people like maybe engineering and all of that, but for my job, it's something I had to learn, and not just only managing people, but managing them in such a way that you're also able to get good results, and then people don't feel like you're only just speaking to me just to get stuff out of me. Right. I remember also telling a couple of my colleagues that I realized, we're having issues, with some stakeholders. And a couple of people had come to meet me to ask, okay, how do you do it that you just speak to XYZ people and you just get stuff done, right? And I told them that for me, in as much as, we have work and work has to be done, I genuinely care about people. I genuinely try to get to know them, right, beyond just work. And they know that, I mean, Cynthia is very passionate about her work, but aside from that, she genuinely cares. I think, I can't remember who mentioned, I think it's Onize, when she mentioned just being good people, right? Not just even just for networking, even within work, right? And being good people and also being very resourceful, right? I think it was maybe 2 months ago, I was working into the office, and from the door, Cynthia, I need your help with this, Cynthia that. Honestly, it can be exhausting. But in that moment, I remember earlier on in church when we had, I think Shola Adisha King come, and she mentioned something about resourcefulness. And in that moment, it dawned on me that for people to seek me out to help with something, right, they find me resourceful, that I can help with that problem, right? So that's something, I mean, nobody taught me in school. I had to build that during the course of my career, but that with my boss and also with my colleagues as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, as before we ask our last question, if you have, or before we ask our last question, if you have any question for any of the panelists, please start gathering it up because we're about to ask that. So, I'll start from Notsage and then from there we move to Cynthia. If you were, if you could give your graduating self 3 pieces of advice, what would it be?
If I could give my graduating self 3 pieces of advice, what would it be? I think the first thing I would say sounds very cliche, is that tough times don't last, but tough people do. You know, at every point, it looks like the world wants to end. When something is going wrong, it looks like, man, I'm cooked. This is the end. And then at some point, you're sharing those experiences in front of amazing people like this. And you wonder, why was I panicking? Like, why would I think that will happen? Like, what was I thinking? But of course, if I go to work tomorrow morning or I get home and my pipe has burst and water is flooding, I'll say, I'm so cooked, man. This is the end. Just forget it. So I would say tough times don't last, tough people do. Still on that first point, I think it's something I heard Buchi say. Buchi is this amazing guy, he's the CEO at Squidax. Buchi told us like last month that there's winter and summer. Summer is the good times. As Game of Thrones people will say, winter is coming. Winter is always coming. And winter does come sometimes. But the thing is, once winter arrives, you can be sure of one thing. Just like gravity, you can be sure that if times are hard right now, it means times are going to be good one day. Times can only be hard because they were good before. So why would they be good again? Every winter period comes with a note from summer saying, I'm coming. So push through these really tough times. So tough times don't last, tough people do. Number 2, I think I would tell my graduating self to not let anyone outwork me ever. Because doing really hard work, doing really hard things requires really hard work. It requires really, really hard work. And there are many trade-offs to living a life that is optimized for work, for working really hard. There are many things that would suffer as a result of that. I think I used to be a super social person when I was at school. I'm no longer super social, to be honest. When I'm outside and talking and everything stresses me out sometimes. I don't go for things. I don't go to stuff. In the first year after school, I was trying to make everything work. I was trying to say, I have to go for this, and the company is doing this hangout, and I want to be there, and they're doing this, and I have to be there, and it's my friend's birthday, and wow, I most likely give birth to that friend, so me to plaster, I pin, I will be there. But at some point, I began to realize that I was stretched too thin, and like he said, like Awa said, there is nothing like work-life balance at the beginning. It's a fantasy. Maybe when you're higher up, you can work-life balance it out. But at some point, you kind of have to pick what is going to be. You can only have work-life balance if work is your life. So I think I would tell myself to expect to do very amazing things, but to remember that it's going to take very, very difficult, very hard work. And it's not enjoyable all the time, to be honest, but it's one of those things. I think the third thing I would tell myself if I were leaving school is that I should expect to fail, but not because I did not try. You lose 100% of the shots you don't take. I once heard someone say something. He was like, if you want to reach Elumelu today, what will you do? Anyone have any ideas? How can you reach Elumelu? Just shout it. How can you reach Elumelu? Let's be real. He said call his phone number. You don't have his phone number. Let's be honest. How can you try to reach Elumelu now?
Text him on Instagram. Huh? Text him on Instagram.
Text him on Instagram. Guess what? Elumelu is not going to answer you on Instagram. I can guarantee you. But text him anyway. What does it cost to text him? Who knows? Maybe Elumelu will be the person Elumelu answers that day. You lose 100% of the shots you don't take. So try everything. There is no shame in trying. I think somehow we've developed this culture as young people where nonchalance is cool, where not trying is nice, you know. Like, you want to be cool without trying. But that's nonsense. If you don't try, you get nothing. There is no reward for being a skeptic. There is no reward for not trying. The reward for not trying is being poor and irrelevant and not growing and not knowing what you are doing. And trust me, that is not cool. Maybe not trying is cool now, you know, but when you don't have money, that's not cool at all. Not having money is not cool. Trust me. I've been there. Am I not even still there? It's not cool at all. So yeah, I would say try everything. Fail, yes, but don't fail because you did not try. To sum it up, and I've been going on for a bit, I would say don't fail because you did not try. Optimize your life for work. It's difficult, but work is always worth it. And thirdly, I would say tough times don't last. Thank you.
Yes.
So when you ask that question, it feels like you are asking someone that's figured it out. But so for me, if I'm going to advise myself, okay. So I'm going to say that I was able to figure some things out as early as possible. At least two of those things, right? So number one is I was able to figure out my path, right? My path. I chose a path and I stuck to it, right? Even before I even graduated, I already know exactly what I wanted to do, and I chose that path, and I locked in. Basically, I locked into that path, and had like sleepless nights trying to learn everything. I mean, in school they did not. I studied computer science, but they didn't teach us how to write code in school. We spent all of those time doing maths, like heavy maths. Yeah, but I was able to, figure out that, okay, I wanted to be a software, like a proper software engineer, not just the mathematical part of it, but how to write code. So I was able to lock in, right, and focus on, building myself up for that particular career path. So that is the first thing I would say. So lock in, figure out what you want to do, and then lock into that, right? Lock in hard. So the second thing I want to also say is relationships, right? Like having like good relationship. So this one I was not able to figure it out on time. So back then in school I was just just myself, my own corner, my own zone, right? So I didn't have like great relationships in school, like friendship and all of those things. I had friends, but like not a lot. But I figured out that those friendships that you make in school are the people that are actually going to get you to. I'm lucky because thank God I did not really need to. I was able to figure some things out later, but then if you had like great relationships, right, they will get you to places where you do not even dream of getting. Dixon was speaking earlier and said he when he was in first year, he learned that someone built an aircraft or an airplane, and then he went and bashed into the guy's door and said, "I must be your friend." I must be your friend. So yeah, so that is the kind of friendship you need to create, and friendship will get you to places. I'm sure that Dixon has, I don't want to say benefited, but they have benefited from each other in that friendship, right? So friendship will get you places. Pick this up. So the last thing is your degree is just foundational, especially when it comes to engineering degrees, computer science, all these. If you had a medical degree, right, like a medical doctor, maybe it's a different ball game. But in this our space, computer science degree, engineering degrees, they're just foundational, right? If you're applying for a software engineering job right now, you may most likely nobody's going to ask you all of those. What is yours? What did you graduate with? All those kind of questions, right? So your degrees are foundational, right? So you should open your mind to learning new things. Right now, everyone is talking about and AI is actually the future, right? Um, so if I was in your shoe, right, I would, lock in into that AI because in the next 5, 10 years time, AI is going to be doing virtually almost everything we're doing right now. So yeah, open your minds to learning new things, even beyond tech, right? Learn other things like finances and other things, right? Eventually, you come to find out that they all tie in together, like they all sort of coming together to, they'll start making sense like later. So 3 things: your degrees are foundational, so you need to open your mind. Have great relationship with people, with good people. And then the first one I mentioned was, I remember. Yeah, I mentioned relationship. Your degrees are foundational, and yeah, exactly. Figure out what you want to do, and then lock in. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Notichan. So, I mean, they've pretty much said it all. It's not, most things about life, it's not what you know. It's really what you apply, right? We can say all these things, but most of us even know these things, but it's in the actual application. So for me, if I were to give my graduating self an advice, first thing would be there is no substitute for hard work, right? We've said it in various forms. You have to pay that price, right? If you say you want this thing, the question is, are you willing to pay the price to get this thing? If you say I want to retire with $1 million when I'm a certain age, are you able to put in the work to do the things that would give you that, right? So hard work there's no shortcuts to it. You have to lock in, like you said. You have to work hard, pay the price, burn your midnight oil, do whatever you have to do. Nigeria is already tough, like one of the keynote speakers said. So if you want to start soft, you're already like at a disadvantage. So you need to work extremely hard. Second thing is you need to be curious, right? Everybody has mentioned curiosity in one form or the other. Learning new stuff. Don't just learn, and not the learning most people do. Like people want certifications. They just let me do this thing and get the certificate. That's not the kind of learning we're talking about. You learn and you apply. You learn, you apply. You learn, you apply. So you need to learn deep, learn a lot of things, read wide, outside your field, broadly. In fact, I feel like this generation, there hasn't been a better time to learn, right? Resources are everywhere. The internet is, so you don't even have an excuse. So go out and learn as much as you can. And then the last thing, which I think is important, because he also mentioned this, is relationships, right? You can't go through life, just doing everything by yourself. Even the learning, there are things you also need to learn from people who need to put you on. Oh, this is what's going on. Have you heard about this? Have you heard about that? Right? So relationships are important. Now that you're in school, your colleagues, your classmates, your classmates, the friends that you make here are pretty much, most times, the friends you take on to life. Most people, the friends they may have now, have people they met either in secondary school, mostly in universities. So it's something to take serious. And like she mentioned, not just like, well, what will I get from this person? Just be a decent human being. Be kind to people. Just be a good person. And good people will also gravitate towards you. And you can build out solid relationships. Thank you.
Okay, so I think for me, the three things would be doing the barest minimum won't get you where you need to be. I mean, I think everyone has mentioned work-life balance, just doing just a tiny bit and expecting to just go up the ladder. It won't get you where you need to be. If you desire to be in a certain radar, it will just keep you in a particular place. And the second thing is do not be afraid to take up responsibilities. Do not shy away from responsibilities. Do it afraid, do it scared, do it asking questions, but do not be afraid to take up responsibilities and challenges. Then the last thing for me would be build soft skills and character. So one thing that I have noticed within the working space is people really underestimate the value that comes with work skill, soft skill rather. I've seen people that are very technical, very smart, but because they lacked soft skills, missed out on a lot of opportunities. So I think it's very, very important. Whilst you're taking all the necessary courses as it should be, also focus on building character, because you do not want a situation whereby you have built so much, learned so much, and gotten to a certain state, but because of character, everything comes crumbling down. So that would be it for me.
Thank you very much. Please, can we give a round of applause to our amazing panelists? Okay, so we're going to be taking 2 questions. If you have any question, please can you raise up your hand? 1 question. Okay, please can you ask you? Sorry, do you have a question? Sorry, hi.
Okay, I actually have 2 questions. So, my first one is something I've pondered on for quite some time. I've actually had an argument with some of my friends. Is it better to be a jack of all trades and or a master of one? Why I say so is because, yeah, it sounds like a good idea to focus on what you want to do. Everyone has that their specific thing they want to do, even though they are interested in a lot of things. But then I also personally feel it's always a good idea to like explore and not just stay stagnated. That's one question. The second one is one that has been bothering me since I got into CV. How do I choose the correct skills to learn between now and my internship and when I graduate and I'm facing my career? I don't want to just like learn anything that comes across my way and then I have a lot of skills that I really do not need or they are of minimal benefit, and then the ones I'm supposed to know that would actually help me down in those ones.
Cynthia, could you answer the first question and then let you answer the second question?
Okay. So so that's a very tricky question, but in my opinion, and I'll use myself as an example, there are a couple of things that I'm passionate about. But one thing I have come to learn about myself in terms of my personality is such that I'm not very great at juggling multiple things at the same time. That is just me, right? I rather do this, focus on this. Once I'm done with this, move to another, right? That is just my personality. I've been able to see people that can juggle multiple things at the same time. So I don't think there is, one straight way answer because people are different. So what I would advise or suggest is you know yourself, you know what you can do. If you're the kind of person that can juggle multiple things, by all means, please do. But if you know yourself, you're true to yourself and you're self-aware that you know how to just do one thing at a time, then you can.
Thank you very much. That's it.
Hi. Okay, I even have something to. Cynthia, amazing answer. Thank you so much. Even for the first question you asked, you said, should you go deep or should you explore a lot of things? Firstly, from the angle of AI, right now, you don't need to have all the skills you want to apply right? So going wide to acquire as many little details about everything as possible. If you are trying to do GPT's work, GPT will always beat you. I'm telling you for free. GPT will always be better than you if you're trying to be wide. GPT is made to be wide. It's trained on the entire internet. There's that. Then secondly, you know, if you are saying that you want to move from thing to thing as things catch your fancy and hey, I'm not really feeling this right now. Do you go to the gym? Do you go to the gym? Do you enjoy it? How long have you been doing it? 1 year plus. If you enjoyed the first week you were there, nobody enjoys something at first. It's impossible. I believe that it's impossible to enjoy anything you're not good at. That's the truth. So if you are saying that you want to explore this thing, even if you just want to explore and you want to find out if this is right for you, you can't know if it's right for you when you can't do it well. When I first started writing code, I hated front-end engineering. I said, Jesus, this sucks. It's terrible. I said, I called my mentor and told her I want to move to backend because I thought I was going to escape. I was like, CSS, count me out. CS, no. And funnily enough, in many roles I've taken on, I've been full stack at some places, but many roles I've taken on have been front end heavy, right? And currently, front end heavy in many ways. In fact, sometimes my job is going to be front end engineer or lead front end engineer, and front end is there. And back then I thought I hated it. I still hate it, but I mean, so you can't know if you like something unless you are really good at it. It's when you're good at it that you can say, okay, I don't like it, let me move to something else. If you're not good at it and you're moving, you're just skipping. That's the only way to put it. The second question, where you said, how do you pick what skills to learn? I think learning is a meta skill to start with. So learning any skill makes it easier for you to learn any other skill. It's like learning languages. I met one amazing lady here who speaks English, a little French, a little Afrikaans, Zulu, and Hausa, right? Speaks 5 languages, fluent in like 2 or 3, I'm not sure. But I'm extremely sure that she will pick up Efik, my native language, quicker than I would, because she already knows 5 other languages. So in that same way, learning any skill, especially in a particular domain, makes it easier for you to learn others. I don't data analysis, but I'm sure I'll learn it faster than you, because I already have 2 or 3 skills in the same domain, right? And then if you are thinking you don't want to pick up a skill that you will not use, to be honest, there's almost never a point in your life when you're sure Chigozie may not end up as a back-end engineer. No, that's very possible. He may still switch when he's 30 or something. He may start a company in AI. He may start a fast food chain, and that's what will make him a millionaire. Like, you can never be sure at any point in your life that this is your final bus stop. But to borrow from the wisdom of the Bible, that which your hand findeth to do, do it with all thy might. So even if what you're doing is not what you think you're going to end up doing, just do it. Personally, when I'm meeting people, when I was in school, when I'm trying to meet people that I think are sensible, are valuable, I would always judge them based on what they are doing now. Even they tell me, oh, I don't know what I want to do with my life, to be honest. Back then, I thought I want to be a software engineer full time. I thought I already had that figured out. I was kind of lucky, like it was. Anytime I meet someone and I see that they are doing what they feel is the thing for them, really with a lot of passion, it's photography, or people that thought they want to be delivering food, they don't know what dispatch rider in real life. They're doing it with all their minds. They're pouring their heart and soul into it. I know that, okay, that means when they do find whatever it is they want to do, they'll bring this same passion, this same energy to it. So if I meet you and you're telling me, I don't know what I'm going to do finally. So this data analysis I'm learning, or this graphic design I'm learning, graphic design is not really a real skill anymore. AI has taken that one. This graphic design I'm learning, I'm not doing it because it's not what I'm going to do. I'm just doing it like once a semester. That means you're unserious. And whatever you're doing, you'll still be unserious. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Please, can we once again give a round of applause to our amazing panelists as they go to their seats? Thank you so much. And oh wow.
First of all, I want to ask Notige, are you the only software engineer in your company? Yeah, I just want to ask, like, are you the only software engineer?
No, we're like 60.
I'm asking because I just want to like know what exactly made you stand out like in your company as a software engineer. Because I remember when you were GDG head in 100 level, my 100 level, you were really into tech, and then I knew that there were like obviously something that you learned or something that stood out for you as like a leader in GDG when I was in 100 level. So I don't know if you can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Sorry, what's the name again?
Mary Cynthia.
Cynthia.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. I'm honored that you thought I stood out. I was just doing my best, to be honest.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm not the only software engineer in my company. We are 60. Like 1/3 of that workforce is Nigerian. I think maybe half Nigerian, half offshore. What made me stand out? Do I stand out? I hope so. I work very hard at standing out. Timmy Babs is not here. My name on Slack is Quicksilver, and I made that my name because I like to do things really, really quickly. Divine is my intern, yeah, so he knows that I like to do things really quickly. I would say do this course, and then I'm asking, can it be done this week? Is that possible? Can you? I know it's difficult, but can you do it this week? My interns give me updates Saturday and Sunday too. I don't ask them to, they just choose to do that. Interestingly, I haven't stopped them, but they just keep doing it, which is interesting. I think taking things to market really quickly, if you're working in the startup, is so important because in startup sometimes be the difference between surviving and failing. Chigozie is on leadership, so I guess he can also speak a bit to what he looks at in people to make them stand out to him, you know. From my own point of view, I think I try to move really quickly. I think that I try to be very passionate about what I'm doing. So even if I don't feel like doing something, I don't think it's necessary to let that show when you're talking to your manager or like the CEO or your PM. If they give you a task, be enthusiastic about it. I think it's very bad for morale if you're complaining. It's very bad for everyone's morale. You're saying, I'm stressed and my wife is pregnant and I don't want to do it and I want to sleep and my head is paining me, and everybody has problems. If I want to start listing my own problems, we will live here. I'm sure if you want to start listing what you think you have that are problems in CU, I also won't live here, but I'll leave, I won't listen. But, you know, everyone has problems, so just come with energy, come with vibe. It's professional and proper to be energetic and passionate about what you do. Passion is contagious. You know, if she's excited, I'm excited. He's excited. Everyone is excited. If she's just complaining, I'm just listening, and I leave, because I'll leave. And she's mourning, and then you guys are crying. What? You know, no one will think you stand out. They'll be looking for how you can go before you spoil their work. So I would say move quickly if you're working in a startup. Also, that depends on what your company is optimizing for culture-wise. I would say I try to move quickly. I try to have energy and be enthusiastic. Like they both mentioned being really enthusiastic and taking things on. I think lastly, grace is a large factor. You know, at times you're just lucky. You get to work on something that takes off. You can have a whole team working on something for like 2 years, and in the end, it fails the market. And those people on that team, even though they've done amazing work, it's just hard for them to have as much impact as, let's say, I, who worked on this product in December and is doing really well now. Everyone thinks I'm a superstar, but in actuality, I was lucky. I was given the projects that worked. Do you get? You know, so I think grace is super important. Pray a lot if you're that kind of person. I'm that kind of person. So pray a lot, because you are calling luck, I think, is grace. Luck plays a large factor in things like this. So what your hand finds to do, do with all thy might, and pray that your hand finds the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry, we're not accepting questions because we've kind of passed our time, but you can see the panelists at your spare time. Thank you guys. Bye.